Yeah, that is.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, is the Loch Ness monster a mammal or
Amphibian or
an amphibian or
mm-hmm.
something, an aquatic, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Do you think that since they don't have those kind of classifications, that maybe that's why they are kind of more like fringe
Yes.
science? I don't know.
Fringy. I think that plays into it, definitely.
I didn't know there were so many,
I didn't either.
that it even required those sort of like classifications as like long neck and flipper, and like how they had it kind of broken down in the book, like sea monsters and, locks and lakes and those kind of like
Right.
subcategories. Like maybe that makes
more sense.
Yeah, it almost seems like it needs to be kind of broad just because we don't know what they are.
We don't know what it is, yeah.
But it still is worth noting something, and yeah.
Definitely.
It kind of makes me wonder too, like how they like first cataloged animals. Like obviously at some point animals needed to be found. Like we didn't have a knowledge of them instantly.
Right.
So like I wonder how they have been like classified through the ages. Like
that would be really
have like a system.
Yeah.
And like how is that system like evolved? Like
I mean, I know they have a system. They do have a system,
but like how it's evolved over the centuries.
Right from when they first started, like how did they decide what's a mammal?
Yeah.
Did they just,
or even just like
species and genus and how they break everything
like even before that, like what did they just have like fur animals, like four-legged animals, like
right. They have domesticated and wild.
Right. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. That'd be interesting. If anyone else knows, lead us to the references.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do like to look things up.
We do.
Okay. I do.
Unless it's House of Leaves. Then we don't like looking things up.
No. That will be a touchstone for us forever, I think.
Probably, yeah. And then, so like thoughts about humans being poor at recalling strange sudden events, like
and that is
what are the counts that coincide with each other, and like does you seeing it versus Dr. so-and-so seeing it, does that make a difference on whether or not it's more believable or not?
Yeah, so I do think about this because like even my own recollections of things, I know that they're not always like spot on or like, and so it's like, yes, I understand what he's saying about people being poor at recollecting things and remembering details, whether they are like a doctor or, like a biologist or, Joe the fisherman. Like we are people and, we don't remember things perfectly, but
they have found that with police cases too, so.
Right, yeah. The author was mentioning, I think he was referencing that in the book about like crime scenes or something. Witnesses to crimes. But yeah, I guess the one thing is, so it's like, okay, but if like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are seeing something, of course, I'm thinking of Bigfoot in this instance, because there are like thousands of people who have stories and sometimes multiple stories, and they're all seeing and kind of experiencing the same weird things and smells, and it's like, can you really just discount that because people can't remember things right? I don't know. I think to a point he's right, but only to a point.
And also, how much does cultural history play into coloring what people are seeing? And he did mention that, like with the lock. I don't know where you have questions, but
That's okay. Yeah, they're all over.
okay,
They're categorized. They go from sea creatures to the end.
Okay. Well, and he did mention that, what was it? King Kong had come out, and there was a kind of a long-necked monster in there, or creature, and how much did that influence what people saw? And I thought, yeah, I bet you there were tales before that just, it was just like community knowledge.
Well, that's the
So,
thing too, is like, sure, I can understand some of the how he was saying it's kind of like a social
right.
thing too, with like how we, perceive things because of culture or whatever, and like how we've been like exposed to it. And yes, I think that's part of it, but also like now that there's so much more technology and like knowledge just out in the world, like it makes getting all of that kind of information a little bit easier. But it doesn't necessarily mean people are all like, oh yes, they saw that. And then, oh, now I'm seeing it. Like, it's
Right.
not necessarily always going to work like that. It just means that, oh, hey, I saw this. Oh, I'm not alone. Someone else saw that too.
Right.
That's great. I'm not crazy, like.
Right.
I think it kind of goes both ways in that, yes, it could influence what people think that they're seeing, but it also could help kind of get a lot more like knowledge that you can just like throw into this sifter and like figure out what's actually going on.
Yeah. And then kind of like what Mom said too, with like the King Kong craze, and sort of like, it was sort of the time in film when like special effects and things were coming out, and so it was pretty influential. And just sort of the hype, and like, even if, I don't know, people are like, you're like out in the woods or something, and not to say that every account of things aren't real, but I could see like people being out in the woods and they're like, oh, what was that noise? And then they're like, oh, ha ha ha, what if it's this? Like, what if it's like something like on King Kong? And then they're just like messing around with their friends, but then like they're like, oh, let's tell everybody in town that we saw this and that. And then like, I don't know, like just storytelling. And
Oh, you mean like, yeah, you make a joke and someone overhears you, and all of a sudden it's fact.
And it's like, oh,
you were being sarcastic and no one caught on.
Like, they hear like the rustle and like see a shimmer somewhere on the lake or something, and they're like, oh my god, that's the thing that I overheard them talking about. Right. And it just sort of becomes like urban legend. But I mean, that's right, that's one thing, and I think it definitely could attribute to like some of the like recollections that people have. And then just even just then, like, I mean, any animal, like if you don't, not everybody knows what every animal is, and so you come across something or hear a weird noise and you don't realize like what bobcats sound like, or or something else sounds like, and they're way weirder than you think. And then you're like, oh my god, I heard this sound and it sounded like, or like a fox, and you're like, it sounded like a baby crying. Like,
oh yeah,
it sounded like a child screaming.
Yeah.
Like, what was happening?
Dying, a child dying in the woods.
God,
Holy shit!
Eating children. Like,
Yeah.
It's sort of like if you don't know what you don't know, and then like maybe you see something out of the corner of your eye, or you hear something run by and just kind of freaks you out. And you might not actually see anything, and it's like, oh, well, what, I don't know. I'm just
brain fills in. I mean, the brain fills in things too.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. It's like if you see something you don't know what it is, your brain tries to fill in the blanks to make you understand what it was.
Yeah.
So, I can see both. I didn't mean to bring that conversation to a complete dead stop.
Oh no.
But
Oh,
Oh,
I think you wrapped it up nice. That's
Yeah.
all.
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Oh man, I'm so sorry. These didn't. So I saved them, and then they didn't. I ran through this, and this happened, and then I went back and I thought I fixed it, but clearly
What is wrong?
it's not
there's
showing
pictures
some-
missing.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
not super noticeable though, Mel. It's not. I wouldn't worry about it.
But they were so good.
Aw.
So we have sea monsters.
Looks like the
Chapter
pins are
2.
fighting.
Yeah, there you go. The lindworm is really
Oh, yeah.
interesting. Never heard of it.
I suppose I should probably like explain what that is rather
Yeah.
than
Page
Yeah, I don't
9.
remember that one.
So I just hadn't heard of this one before, and I mean, it's the classic sea serpent, I guess, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
called a lindworm, I guess, in cryptozoology. And I remember, Angie, you were mentioning the map thing, but yeah, anyway, I just said it was interesting. It's just like a sea serpent thing. I did have a picture of it in the corner there.
Aw.
It went underwater. It's submerged. It's fine.
Yes.
They're all hiding.
Fake sighting, people. Fake sighting.
Sure, there's one there.
Sure, you saw one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
would you find it exciting to learn of a sea monster confirmed by science? Which sea monster would freak you out or excite you the most?
I definitely would find it exciting.
It would be a little scary too,
It would be very scary.
but it would be exciting.
It's probably a
Depend
little
on
more.
how it was discovered too. Like if you personally
That's
discovered it and like
true.
it sank your ship and
Yeah.
ate all of the sailors or whatever, like that'd be terrifying.
Yes, I would not want to find out that way.
But if I like heard it on the news or whatever, I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. Like,
That's really
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and personally, I think that the water is one of the most likely that we will ever find something that we've
Yes.
never seen or heard of before.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that too. Because I can't remember the percentage that we've discovered so far, but it's not
Small.
100%.
No. And yeah, and even they don't even have vehicles or machinery that can go as deep as what some of the things, some of the
It's so
spaces in
crazy.
the ocean are. So
That's just
Yeah.
so cool and crazy.
Yeah.
it is. And then I think of, I don't know, did you mention Lake Superior in any of these slides?
That's gonna be, I think the next chapter
okay.
went over locks and lakes.
Oh,
Sea
okay, so
monsters
this
was more
was-
broader for like
Oceans.
oceans and yeah.
yeah,
okay.
seas.
Because, yeah, I mean, the
Sorry.
oceans are humongous.
Mm-hmm.
And I see your next question is something about the giant squid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I guess the sea monster that would freak me out or excite me the most, I was just kind of thinking probably the sea serpent would freak me out the most. For some reason the squid doesn't. Maybe it's because there's been so much in movies already, like the Kraken and everything. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, we've seen that one before, even though it's not real. Like, but we've seen that one before.
What if it was
But
real?
like, if it was like, that would be really cool. But for some reason, like a huge giant serpent, like lindworm thing would freak me out even more.
I think it depends on what they eat. You
Well,
know, a
people, of
squid.
course.
Well, yes. Yes. The giant squid or octopus, yes, they would probably eat people and whales and things like that. But would a
Mhm.
sea serpent necessarily? Or would they be more like sea
They
cows
just
and eat
yeah,
kelp?
they just eat kelp and seaweed and
They squeeze you for fun to kill you.
yeah.
Yes.
Sport.
Yes. What about you guys?
Yeah, same.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't discovered the one that I'm the most afraid of. So
That's fair.
I feel like
Too many undiscovered yet, but probably
Yeah.
anything huge that
Yes.
could like wrap itself completely around a boat. That would scare me.
Yes.
I feel like even things like that look similar to like an anglerfish, like those things
Yeah.
are pretty creepy.
Is that the
Yes.
angler? Is that the one with
With the
the
light?
sharp nose? Oh, the
Sharp
light.
teeth and like the light.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then
Like-
it's got the giant.
It's just really
Teeth.
ugly.
Yeah, it is.
But
It's
like
creepy.
the further down you go, like the more
Yeah,
like
I read
Creepier.
things get.
someone made a meme about that. They're like, the ocean, the deep ocean is like God's deviant art. Like, no, yeah, like
That is
I like
true.
that.
that's
I
just
like
kind of a
that.
jab on deviant art because, yeah,
Nope. I think
that was
it's
like a
perfect.
where
It's
you went
funny,
to in
though.
middle school to upload all your artwork and like got some weird stuff on there.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, my other question about the sea monsters, I guess, oh yeah, so the giant squid isn't confirmed to be real. There was an article about that battleship, that had like weird, let me just read it. It was Battleship Stein or something. It was, of course, probably now I won't be able to pull it up quick.
But yeah, I kind of agree with the fact though, like you say like there are some creatures that have been confirmed that we didn't think were. And that is the truth. Like, and I feel like it would have been nice if the author would have included some of those sort of things
Yeah.
to kind of like balance things out instead of just being like, it's all fake.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
one,
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, then you can't say that none of them exist. Because
Right.
some of
And,
them.
and there are giant squids too, not big enough.
right,
haven't seen any.
not the giant squid type, but giant
not to
squids.
attack a ship and
Right.
wrap its, but if it's a canoe, it could wrap its tentacles around it because the ones they found are pretty big. So if you're in an outrigger in the Pacific Ocean going from an island to island, you could have a giant squid wrap its tentacles around your boat, and that's how stories can start.
So this is the little article that I had up on the screen. It's not an
Oh.
article. It's just
The quotes.
it's little, thing. 1978, U.S. Navy ship USS Stein was apparently attacked by an unknown species of giant squid. Almost all cuts on the sonar dome contained remains of the sharp, curved claws that are found on the rims of the suction cups of some squid tentacles. These claws were much larger than those of any discovered squid species. And I don't think he mentioned that one
I
in
don't
the
think
book.
so. Most of the ones I think that he mentioned were like much further back.
Which is
Like-
interesting because he had some stuff that was as early as 2015.
True.
Mhm.
But they were
So-
things that he could easily,
Debunk.
yes, that he could debunk.
Yeah.
And yeah, he didn't have anything that he couldn't disprove.
That's
in
what
one
I
way.
felt too. Like
Yeah.
he was
Mhm.
definitely picking and choosing from what,
From what there was research on already, like you said, a theme
Right.
paper, thesis
yeah,
that he could footnote off of.
yes. I'm trying to find out when this one. So the coelacanth, that was caught in 1974,
Hmm.
and it is considered. It was long considered a living fossil because scientists thought it was the sole remaining member of a taxon otherwise known only from fossils, with no close relations alive.
Hmm.
And that was that fish, right?
Yep, this isn't the giant squid. This is the coelacanth.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I remember them finding that when I was in school.
Okay.
And what year was that?
Yep, 1974.
Okay, so yeah.
So it might have been
that was-
that one, maybe.
There might have been one before that too, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's like, how can they find things that they've never found before?
It's so exciting. I think
It
it's so
is.
cool. Like, yeah, I don't know.
they did think that one was a fossil, that it couldn't be alive anymore. So
that's when I think like that's when it's like, okay, yeah. Like when science and biologists, like science is so broad, there's biologists and chemists and whatever, but biologists, like when we're discovering new things, it's like that seems more realistic to me, like, or finding new things about the past that we had thought was true but wasn't. And like that's just exciting, and like I just find that really cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry all these are broken. I feel like, let me just stop recording this quick,
Okay.
and then
I'm gonna go shut my door then too.
record on this computer. Okay. So yeah, sorry, my pictures aren't showing up, so it's not going to be as visually interesting, but
Still pretty.
but yeah. Angie
Sure.
she made a note on.
Yeah, so yeah, I just thought it was kind of cool and interesting, and where maybe some of the mythology or lore comes from of giant sea creatures, or like the sea serpents. Oh yeah, like they show in the book.
Oh
Like
yeah.
on old maps in the 1500s, like basically they were hand illustrated just for decoration, or also to sort of signify that certain areas of the sea and coastline were especially dangerous. And it might, probably not because of a creature, but maybe rocks or,
Yeah.
something else that would make it dangerous for a boat. And I just thought that was really cool. Like, if you think to back then, like, what did you have to entertain yourself? Like, real life, there wasn't anything extra. Like, what do? You draw, like art's cool. And so it's just kind of funny that, like, yeah, I'm sure that some of the stories maybe came from that, or like, oh, they drew that, there must have really been one. Like, people don't have imaginations. Right. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, that's true. Like, even with like, go for it, Mom.
Oh, I was going to say, a lot of mythology, even before the 1500s, they had different creatures that, especially sea creatures and sea monsters and things. So creatures have always been in the human psyche somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Join the conversation in the comments below, and please be sure to say hello to us over on Twitter or Instagram. Remember, at 100 subs, we are doing a book giveaway. And at 200 subs, we are choosing a viewer-requested book. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, happy reading.